This quick little video, I'm just going to show again how the idea of being able to walk, your basic left foot, right foot kind of walk impacts how you understand martial arts, at least the way I teach it. So one of the things that we often do is called SILAT, and it's a position, it's a stance, I guess you'd say, but for us most stances are transitional anyway, so we don't really do stance training as such. But SILAT is when you're in this position here, and for the most part, we refer to things as set points, right? So from whatever position I assume I want to be able to immediately attack without having to adjust. This basically gives me the opportunity to be really, in appearance at least, quick, as opposed to having to set my strike up. So for example, I might go like this and want to use a right punch. In order to do a right punch, I have all this pregame that has to happen before I can throw the punch. If I really want to throw the right punch, what I ought to do is set my body so that my punch has power immediately and I don't have to adjust. That adjustment is just telegraphing. And so we try to work, I try to teach people how to be non-telegraphic, basically. Well, the same is true for kicking, right? So the difference, though, with kicking is that it's very difficult to be non-telegraphic, which is one of the reasons why I don't spend a lot of time addressing how to deal with kicks in our system, because they're relatively easy to deal with. They are slower, they are heavier, and generally telegraphic. So we have some ways to deal with them. We have kick checks and things like that. But anyway, to sort of get to the point of the walking, right? So when you walk, there's this point at which all of your weight is on one foot or the other. And that's what's defined as walking. And typically, there's this point where you have weight on both feet is considered to be walking. But that transition phase is what I'm referencing today, where you only have weight on one foot. So when you're kicking, if you're in a SILAT position, any strike pretty much you can find a space, a position to launch from, which is going to be non-telegraphic. The problem with any kind of static position is that it's pretty much impossible to, if it's two-footed anyway, you're going to have a hard time finding any space in which you can launch a kick without being telegraphic. However, if the principle of walking applies, which is shifting weight from one foot to the other, then when I'm kicking, it's really the transition, right? So it's getting from whatever position I'm in. Maybe I've dodged a punch and I struck. The transition is to finish with a kick. That's our full transition in a step, right? So our step is here, and there's this point where my foot is free. That is the point at which I kick. So if I were dodging forward, that would be the point at which I would kick. It would be generally, it could be an offensive or defensive tactic. The issue is that it has to be done in transition. So this is where your body needs to be staying in motion, right? So you might settle here, and that's okay for a moment. But if you want to kick and be non-telegraphic, then you have to do it out of movement, just as if you were walking. Your weight shifts and everything have to take place.